name's Bob Gibbs. I currently reside over in Holmes County, about a little over an hour from here in the western part. And first I want to thank Dale. Dale's been a good friend for a few years now, and putting these forums on. It was always great to get out and meet with constituents, and Tracy for moderating this. And it's great to see, as Congressman Space said, all the other elected officials we have here. Troy and Jennifer back in the back of the room, not maybe again, but that's great to see them up working in the legislature. Just quickly, a little bit about my background before I talk about where I think this country needs to go. I grew up in the city, and I decided for some reason to get involved in agriculture. I went down to Worcester and went to I was in the first graduating class at the Ag Tech School there in Ohio State. And in 1976, 75, 76, we bought our first farm, and then in 78, I went on my own, left the research center. I started working at the research center in 74 in the animal science department. And so I've been self-employed since 1978, and I've created a few jobs along the way, and I like to say I've been on both sides of a paycheck. And so I know what it's like to create jobs. I know what it's like to pay the bills and struggle and have good times and bad times. And in my operation, I was primarily in our agriculture operation when we raised hogs. And my goal was in the beginning to have about 135 sows and sell feeder pigs. And then about 10 years ago now, I guess it was, I decided to voluntarily retire from the hog business. About 30 or so years was long enough. And when we got out of the hog business, we were raising about 10,000 market hogs a year. And so we grew beyond what we had anticipated. And we had some good years and bad years. Raising commodities, hogs are a commodity. You understand the free enterprise system. You get the school of hard knocks. Then I ran for the General Assembly when they redistricted the last time, and was elected to the Ohio House, and now I'm currently a state senator representing Holmes, Wayne, Medina, and most of Ashland County. I also have a little company I call Gibbs Enterprises LLC. I do some rentals, and I like to do a little construction on the side when I had time. And I've owned some properties in a couple other counties, but I like doing that. The reason I decided to run for Congress, run for the seat last fall when I looked at this, is I'm really concerned about the direction this country's headed. You know, I really don't think that we can spend ourselves on prosperity. And my number one commitment to you is we've got to get our fiscal house in order and lower the tax burden on businesses and individuals and bring back confidence, because my priority is getting this economy going again and getting jobs back. That's our number one priority. The borrowing that's been done the last few years, raising the national debt, we're headed to where Greece is now. And you heard the previous speakers talking 62-64% of the gross domestic product. We're headed there. And we're in a course of I don't even like to think the track we're on. And we've got to fix it. It's becoming a national security issue. We're mortgaging the future of our kids and their kids and probably their kids. And the only way out of this is we've got to cut spending. How we cut spending, if you look what's happened in spending in the last couple of years now, it's grown tremendously. I think we've had a 10% growth in the budget, and we need each year. Federal deficit has been over $1 trillion each year. And to put this in a little bit of perspective, when my congressman and your congressman, once here in 18, took office, and Nancy Pelosi took office in January 2007, the federal deficit was $161 billion. That's $161 billion too much, but at the end of that Congress, it was $462 billion. Last September, at the end of the fiscal year, it was $1.42 trillion, and now we're looking at 1.5 or somewhere in there, pushing $2 trillion every year, for as far as the eye can see. Totally unsustainable, and we've got to get that around, change that course we're on, because it's a path of destruction. It's a path of lowering our quality of life, our standard of living in this country. And what we need to do is restore confidence. And it's hard to restore confidence with the policies coming out of Washington, D.C. right now, because those policies are creating uncertainty. You certainly do not pass legislation like our congressman voted for, the cap and trade. It's going to kill at least 100,000 jobs in Ohio. Who knows how many in the 18th? Probably a high percentage of those will be in the 18th. Kill jobs, raise energy costs, raise electricity costs probably at least 60% for our homes and our families, and we just cannot tolerate those kind of policies. And another thing you don't do, you don't pass new entitlement programs. You know, I'm for health care reform, but not what they passed. They passed an entitlement. And if you look at the numbers, currently Washington expects to bring in about 2.1, maybe $2.2 trillion in revenue in this annual budget, that's about the equivalent to our liabilities, the federal government's liabilities on the current entitlement programs. And we cannot have pass more entitlement programs, because once you pass an entitlement program, we as a government are obligated to fund them. And when you talk about discretionary funding, what we can do, you limit ourselves. So we've got to have a serious conversation on going forward on our entitlement programs, and we don't need to pass any more new entitlement programs. So to sum up to what I'm trying to say is it's about jobs, to get the people back to work. Because if we don't, it's going to be a country that we're not going to, we haven't even experienced in our history of our nation. And we have to turn that around. And how we turn that around is we get our fiscal house in order, cut the deficit spending, cut the borrowing, lower the taxes. I believe by lowering the taxes, we put more money back in the entrepreneurs, small business and medium-sized pockets and families, and let them use the money where they think they need to invest the money, and it will get invested. And we just absolutely have to do that. I have confidence in the private sector in this country can do the right thing if government gets out of their way. And we have to unleash the American spirit and innovation again. I know the previous speakers talked about innovation. What's made this country great is our innovation over our 200+ year history. And that's why we became the greatest nation in the world, and opportunities abound. And that's why everybody wants to come here, because there's opportunity. But the path we're on, that opportunity is going to get limited, and we're not on a good path. We need to change that, and I'm committed to change that. And we can probably talk about this in the questions, but the tax increases that our congressman and Nancy Pelosi has supported, cap and trade, and he did vote for the health care bill out of the House that had the public option. It was probably, in my opinion, even worse than what was actually finally passed. But it's not how we address our nation and empower the people and put the money back in the people and let them make those decisions. And we need smaller government, limited government, and that's my commitment. And how you do that is you don't fund it and you don't raise taxes. Raising taxes right now, $1.4 trillion of taxes increases have already occurred. And January 1st of this year, if they let the tax cuts expire, we're going to see significant tax increases, and we will see a very struggling economy. And I don't want to paint a blight picture how moving forward, but we need to lower the tax burden and lower the regulatory. We need regulations that make sense and oversight that makes common sense and economic sense, and make sure we protect the environment and do the right things. And when companies are making money with the proper oversight, most people out there will do the right thing. And that's one thing I learned in agriculture, in the hog business. In the years that we were really struggling, it was tough to think about doing extra things like maybe improving a waterway on some of our fields or things like that. Our main concern was paying the employees, paying the mortgage, paying the bills, and staying in business. And when we were making money, that's the time we could think about doing things that you want to do as an individual or a company and moving forward. But if we put these burdens on our companies, they're not going to be here, and they're not going to be profitable, and they're not going to be vibrant. And so we need to have strong, proactive, free market capitalism type policies and an energy to and move this country forward and empower the individuals. I look forward to your questions and discussion, and thank you for having me here today.